Hello team, this is Darren. Hope you're all doing well. Yesterday I was training one of my clients and their teams in Western Australia. Now, of course, because I can't fly over there for the moment, we're doing it all via Zoom, but they wanted training on telephone skills. Now, we covered a bunch of areas, inquiry cards for leads, service calls, follow-up, renewal calls, service calls, etc., etc. But I wanted to pick out a small part of that for you that'll help you. So today in Training and Coaching Wednesday, increasing appointment percentage through the Tease strategy. Now, we've known for a long time that it's better to present your products and services face-to-face rather than on the telephone, because on the telephone, you're just using the auditory part of your communication, where if you can get face-to-face, of course, you can use hand gestures and body language and facial expressions, and that builds a greater connection. It builds that trust and likability, and it allows the person that you're presenting to, your inquiry, for instance, to share more emotion. And that way, when they share more emotion, you can present your products and services to connect with that emotion. But of course, with the onset of Zoom going gangbusters, then that allows us to do the same sort of thing. So the Tease strategy allows you to move from an inquiry over the phone to a Zoom or a face-to-face presentation. And we know that when you can get onto that presentation, then the conversion is really high. But big challenge is moving from the telephone inquiry to the next step, whether that be Zoom or face-to-face, because we know we need to present visually, auditory, and kinesthetically to create maximum value and increase our overall conversion. So I'm going to give you some tips on the Tease strategy that you can put into your telephone skills straight away. So of course, in your phone prompt and your inquiry cards, then you'll build some rapport, you'll share some information about yourself, you'll build that mutual commonality, because people like themselves. And of course, you'll ask some questions about their inquiry, whether I've used a product like yours before or a service like yours before. And then at some point fairly early in the conversation, you ask, so listen, there's lots of ways I or we can help you. You know, what sort of outcomes are you after? And once they've shared what they're after, this is the most important part to start using the Tease strategy. You can use it anywhere on the telephone, but this is a great area to do it. As soon as they've shared a little bit about what they want to achieve, then start the Tease strategy. Now, the first part to this Tease strategy is to teach your prospect or your inquiry something they don't know. So two things that this achieves. Firstly, it adds value to the conversation. That's one of the things you need to reflect on at the end of the phone call. How much would that person have paid for the information I shared with them over the phone? Was it valuable? Did I create value? So if you can teach them something that they don't know, that is relevant, of course, to their interest, then they'll see you as an expert and you'll create added value. So the second part is seeing you as an expert is really important to separate you from the competition. Now, by the way, when you do that, teach to be seen as an expert and to add value, there's three parts to do that. The first is what we call a statement softener. So as soon as they've shared what they want to achieve, and not the full detail of it, just the first little bit, then use a statement softener. I can certainly help you with that. Or you may not know, I found out the other day, a lot of our clients are having success with, the latest research shows. Any of those, a little bit of a statement softener. That's the first part, which leads into your fact. The second part is your fact. What are you going to teach them to be seen as an expert and to add value? And then the third part is something like the benefit to you is. So we're trying to move it into a green brain or an emotion that they move towards. We know that red brain logic is 0% of decisions and emotion is 100% of decisions. So although it's early in the conversation over the telephone, you may not have them shared a lot of emotion yet. We're still trying to connect it to some sort of emotion. So the first part of the Tease strategy is the teach. Statement softener, fact, the benefit to you is. Then what we want to do is to ask them a question. We need to get them involved in the conversation. This is going to increase your appointment percentage because it's going to be more like they've suggested it rather than you ramming the idea down their throat. We know that when you say it, the prospect doubts it. But when the prospect says it, it's true. When you say it, the prospect doubts it. But when the prospect says it, it's true. So we follow your teach with, hey, listen, do you think it's important for you to understand the balance of A and B? So whatever the two things you're discussing in your teach, if you're involved in property investment, it could be, hey, listen, for your situation, do you think it's important to understand the balance of equity growth and rental returns? If you're in the fitness industry, it might be a question about, listen, for you, do you think it's important to understand the balance of exercise intensity and nutrition to achieve your weight loss? If you're in finance advising, do you think it's important for you in your situation to understand the balance of risk versus return on investment to get where you want to go? Now, of course, it's a loaded question, so their answer is going to be yes, of course. And then what we need to do, you need to agree with their suggestion. Now, it's their suggestion. If you say it, they doubt it. If they say it, it's true. So they'll say yes. They'll answer that question, yes. And you say, listen, I totally agree. And now we're going to do a Zoom switch, a switch to Zoom, or we're going to set up the appointment for them to come in. So listen, I totally agree. Hey, listen, too much to cover over the phone. I don't want to keep you all day, but I'll definitely tell you more about that when we jump on Zoom and to do a bit of a deep dive. Or listen, totally understand. I agree with you. There's way too much to cover over the phone. I don't want to keep you all day, but I'll definitely tell you more about that when we meet up and we do a bit of a deep dive in what you're after and how I can help. Now, whether that's you going to them or them coming to you, or if neither of that is possible, then via Zoom. It all works the same way. So 3 things you've done there. You've given them value and shown you're an expert. You've got them to agree, and it's like their suggestion to meet with you. And then the third thing I want you to do is to let them know you'll write that down on their success plan or their action plan. Listen, totally agree with you. It's too much to cover over the phone, but I'll definitely tell you more about that when we catch up on Zoom. In fact, I'm going to write that down on your success plan to make sure I tell you more about that when we meet up. Now, by the way, I mentioned that we're looking at visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. So if you want to include a kinesthetic aspect to your telephone call, then suggest to them that they write it down as well. Hey, listen, I'll get you to write that down as well. That we'll talk about that equity growth. We'll also talk about those rental returns. You might ask them to write down 2 or 3 things. You're going to also write that down on their success plan or their action plan. So now, because we have communicated, even though we're on the phone, now we've got a auditory component and a kinesthetic component if you're going to get them to write that down. And then when we move to Zoom or face-to-face, we can bring in the visual component as well. So just to recap that, the Tease strategy, early in the phone call, you're going to ask a question like, so listen, what sort of outcomes are you looking for? They'll tell you as soon as you know. Start the Tease strategy, teach them something. Oh, listen, I can certainly help you with that. In fact, the latest research shows that fact, the benefit to you is, hey, listen, do you think it's important for you in your situation to understand the balance of A plus B? And they'll say yes. Now we agree with their suggestion. Listen, I totally agree. Too much to cover over the phone. I don't want to keep you all day, but I'll definitely tell you more about that when we jump on Zoom. I come and see you, you come and see me, whatever your situation is. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write that down on your success plan, and we'll talk more about that when we meet up. In fact, I'll get you to write that down as well. Have you got a pen and paper there? Yep, excellent. So just jot that down, this, that, and the other. I'll make sure we talk about that when we meet up. Now, what that's going to do is to increase your appointment percentage, because I've already agreed, even before you start alternate choicing about when to meet up, they've already agreed that they want to do it. It'll increase your show percentage because they're not coming to see you or meet you or look at your facilities. They're coming to finish the action plan that you started or the success plan that you started over the phone. Emily's on. Hello, Emily. Good to see you. You wrote Tease strategy works very well in the fitness industry. It does, absolutely. It does work well in the fitness industry, and it works in all industries where you're trying to move from telephone to what's next, the next step. Now, of course, from there, you're going to alternate choice about meeting up and organizing a time to get face-to-face or via Zoom. Or if you want to strike while the iron is hot and you're going to do a Zoom, you can do a Zoom straight away. So a Zoom switch immediately. So at the end of that Tease strategy, hey, listen, in fact, are you in front of a computer? Yes, I am. Fantastic. Well, how about we jump on Zoom now and we can do a bit of a deep dive right now, and I can show you how I can help you. And then you might be able to do that link instantly. And while the lead is hot, the inquiry is hot, jump on Zoom and to do that bit of a deep dive. So that is the Tease strategy. It increases your appointment percentage, which is vital to make the most of your marketing spend, but also increase your show percentage because they're not just coming to see you, they're not just coming to see you, your facilities and services, whether that be on Zoom or face-to-face. They're coming to finish an action plan and a success plan that you've started on the phone. They're gonna finish that with you on Zoom or face-to-face. Now we know when we get Zoom or face-to-face, as long as you've got a good sales system in there, the conversion is gonna be nice and high. So make sure you put that into place. Obviously, with all things happening in the world right now, Zoom presentations and servicing your clients is really significant. But there's some big mistakes out there. Selling via Zoom and presenting via Zoom is different to selling face-to-face, and there's some key things that you need to help to increase that conversion. So I'm happy to give you some free stuff if you like. We have a sales guide ebook that's 12 ways to more sales in COVID times, 12 ways to more sales in COVID times. So listen, if you'd like that, just write more sales in the comments. I'm happy just to shoot that out to you. That's no problem. Magical Matt is on. Great strategy, Daz. Love it. Good to see you, Matt. You're a superstar. So good to have you on. Hope the family as well. So everyone jump in and use that Tease strategy. Write your own little prompt. If you want some help, let me know. If you want our 12 ways to more sales in COVID times, write more sales in the comment and I'll make sure I get that across to you. You guys have a great day. We'll chat soon.